Oh, I'm being told to wait already. There's always one. More delays than Brexit. Are we ready? I had to say it. No one said the B word yet, so it's quite nice actually. The deadline for Brexit is Friday, and I'm staying till Saturday, so I might not get home yet. We'll wait and see. Thank you very much to EENA and to Dubrovnik for having us along. This is great, and welcome to this session on social media. Firstly, just some quick domestics for you. Apparently there's a political summit taking place in Dubrovnik until Friday, and a number of the roads have been closed. So we've been asked to let everyone know to make sure you allow plenty of time for airport transfers. So please, if you need transfers to the airport, please book your transport, allowing plenty of time to do that. If you ask the taxi companies when you call them, they will be best placed to advise, but again, please just make sure. We don't want you missing your flights home as much as we like having you here. We do want you to get home safely and make your intended flights as well. Social media is a wonderful thing. It's embedded into so much of what we do now. Most of us will have devices in our pockets that are connected to sometimes dozens of different social networks. It's really powerful. It's something that public safety professionals are starting to engage with more and more. We use it a lot to let people know what's going on in an emergency. We use it a lot to find out ourselves what's going on in an emergency, and we try our best to correct any misinformation as well. Lots and lots of professionals are starting to use it. There is a lot more room for progress, and hopefully we're going to hear over the next hour about how some of that progress is being made and how it's being planned to be made as well. Very quickly then, I'd like to introduce Aditya Mishra, who is the Additional Director General from the Uttar Pradesh Provincial Police in India, who's going to tell us about how they use social media. Thank you, Aditya.
Good evening, everyone. This is before I start with three things that we did, which maybe you may be able to replicate as an innovation in social media use. I would just like to, in 2 slides, present you the context. So this is the province. This is one of the 25 provinces of India. It's the largest one. And as you can see, it's about 250 million population. And if it was a country, an independent country, it would have been the 5th largest country. So it's a huge place. A lot of administrative units, as you can make out. And especially the rural area, we have more than 100,000 villages in the province. So this is just to give you the basic context of the use of what we call UP 100. 100 number, incidentally, in India has been traditionally used. 100 has been traditionally used for emergency response as compared to 112, which is more popular in Europe. A little bit about the use of mobile, which is also now not so recent phenomena, but almost 45% penetration in the population. 33% of this 45% uses smartphones. But this number is increasing very rapidly thanks to a lot of cheap internet available and also a lot of cheap smartphones coming in from other countries. So a lot of people are switching to smartphones. And that more or less automatically means that you switch to social media. So our approximate guess is that about 40 million smartphone users are actively using this smartphone in this province. And almost all of them are in some form of social media. So some of the social media which is more popular is Facebook, of course. Twitter is not so popular, but WhatsApp, which is more of a messaging service, is also very popular. So this is one of the things that we started about a year back. It's called Twitter Seva. Seva essentially in our language means service. And why the need arose, I'll again give you a little context that Indian people who have gone abroad and more or less settled down in other countries. So we have a huge population of Indians whom we prefer to call PIO, persons of Indian origin. So there are almost 31 million of them settled in 146 different countries, but they are still very connected to their roots. So they like to keep talking about the family, which is in India. And if there's any problem with the family, they would like to inform us. So we used to get a lot of information over the Twitter asking for help, and then we formalized it. So we call it Twitter Seva. So, and we popularized it and publicized it in all these countries. So anyone needing help in Uttar Pradesh, in my province, has to tweet me that, okay, this is the problem I have, or one of my relatives back in India is facing. And once we get that message, immediately we relay it to the respective administrative unit, and the emergency services are also immediately triggered by creating an event. And whatever is the result, that again we tweet them back. So now, over the last 7-8 months, this service has got very popular as well as very systematic, and a lot of good work is being done through this. The second thing, as I told you, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a very common, very popular messaging service in India. And we get a lot of information through that, a lot of requests for help through WhatsApp. And we have a whole team of what we call the social media team just looking at the WhatsApp. Because very easy to attach images and videos, and very easy to send it back to the person or forward it to the dispatchers. So this has become very popular. We have an app within our provincial police. It's called the S10 app. Now, S10 is essentially volunteers who are pre-verified, and they are there in every location. So every village will have about a handful of people who are willing to help us, support us, and who are our volunteers. And this is spread across this province. So you can see a few images of the app that we have. And this connects. So if there is an emergency, we get an information. We are, through the use of WhatsApp, we are able to verify through one of our volunteers. And if they are willing to help, they can even go to the scene or the situation and relay us the exact images of what is happening, which in turn our dispatchers are able to relay to the vehicles which are responding to the incident. So that helps a lot. You know, you're able to understand the context of the event and accordingly react. There are many incidents where instead of dispatching one vehicle, we have to dispatch a few more depending on the gravity of the situation. And our assessment improves a lot through the help of these S10 volunteers. And obviously, WhatsApp. This is another very common thing which many commercial establishments are also using, what you call the social media analysis. Many versions of this software or platform is now available. And we thought we should also experiment with this because it's a huge state and not all the information filters down to us immediately. So we installed a platform and we started looking at the keywords, both in English and our language, which is Hindi. So something like an accident, you know, somebody somewhere in the social media is tweeting or messaging accident, and we are able to immediately get in on our platform, and our people who are sitting and working on this software, they are further able to dig down and see if it is something for us, worth noting. So if there is a bus accident, and immediately the people who are sitting in the bus or people around are not able to respond or call the emergency services, but if somebody tweets to a relative, we are able to pick that up and respond. So this is a kind of a thing on which suo moto we initiate action without any formal message coming to us. And this has also been a very successful experiment with us because we are, not only this, we do analysis of all the social media remarks, and some of these remarks are not directly directed towards us, but it's a conversation between maybe two people who are discussing UP 100. And we are able to get some trends, and as well as in many cases, we are also able to react that, okay, this is what you have tweeted, but the actual incident is this, or we need to take action and get back to you on this. So it improves our response tremendously. Social media has also helped us to deal with languages, because that's a major problem in our country. UP is, Uttar Pradesh, our province, is one of the main tourism centers, mostly because of pilgrimages, a lot of important religious centers in our province. So what it helps is that we have an offline translator, and every time, so if you get a call from a person who is from down south speaking in Tamil, most of our responders will not be able to understand. But if the same thing comes through a message, we are able to translate and reply back in the same message. This, of course, is available through online services like Google, etc. also. But since our model is completely offline, we have our own translation engine to translate and respond. So here also social media, we have been able to successfully use this multilingual platform. Oops. Okay, so those were the only 3-4 things which I wanted to explain. We have used it for the last 7, 8, 10 months. Our whole system is just about 2.5, 3 years old, but we have very successfully used and found it very helpful, because it's a huge province, it's a huge population. We have to take a very macro view, and all these systems have helped us a lot. So thank you very much.
Aditya, thank you. Fascinating stuff. And a lot of integration with different forms of social media in lots of different ways. So it's kind of all-encompassing what you do, which is fascinating to see. Does anyone in the room have any questions? He's obviously done a great job of covering. Oh, we have a hand up over there. Excellent. We'll just grab a microphone to you quickly so the room can hear you. Here we go. Can you tell us who you are and where you're from as well?
I'm asking the question as a volunteer in Virtual Operation Support Teams, VOST. So my question is, are you somehow engaged with volunteers in social media activities for public safety?
I couldn't get your question. Can you repeat that, please?
Sorry. Do you have any help from volunteers, or virtual support or digital volunteers in your social media activities in Uttar Pradesh?
It's not so much about digital, but I showed you one slide. So we have a very old system of volunteers who've traditionally been helping the administration and the police in general. And we have tapped into that. So we have a system whereby you can type in any village and you will get a list of volunteers with their phone numbers, as you can see on the right-hand side. So that's one village where you have a list of volunteers who are generally people who are verified, in the sense that they are people who are positive, they are helpful. So we immediately message them that this is the information, can you help us with that? And most of the time they respond very quickly. So we have a very well laid out system, which was there before we started this, so we have just tapped into that.
Anyone else for any questions at all before we move along? Wonderful. In that case, thank you very much, Aditya, for the insight. That's brilliant. And next up is Remy Bossu. Remy is the Secretary General at the European Mediterranean Seismological Centre. I'm intrigued to find out what they do, so let's hear from Remy. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'm going to show you is that basically social media can contribute at little cost at global seismic risk reduction. And what I will also try to illustrate is how we use the lesson learned from recent earthquakes to make evolution in our system. So the EMSC is one of the top global earthquake information centers in the world. We are an NGO. We are providing, so we federate the seismological observatories and we provide backup services to the national institutes. We are also part of Aristotle pilot projects, which provide 24/7 expert support, multi-hazard support to the ERCC, which is the European Civil Protection Unit. So how do we contribute to risk reduction? Fundamentally by two ways: by improving situation awareness very rapidly, and by limiting inappropriate behaviors after the earthquake. How do we do this? First, we engage with eyewitnesses by providing very rapid information. I will illustrate this. And we do not try to change the way the people behave during the emergency, but we try to exploit their behavior. So, the use of technologies during disaster is nothing new. This is a picture taken after the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco. So you see that the city is burning and people are taking pictures. So there is nothing new. What is new is that everybody has now a smartphone in his pocket. So it has totally changed the scale of what you can do. So when there is an earthquake now, people turn to the internet. Some of them will make a Google search, and because we are well identified on Google, the number of people on our website will just jump dramatically. So basically, you know before you get seismic data that something has happened just by looking at the people looking at your website. And it is quite important because basically the amplitude of the increase is basically measurements of the public desire for information. And I will explain that we move towards information on demand. The second thing you can do is that you can also look where your visitors come from. So this is an earthquake in Oklahoma. This is the epicenter. This is the time from the earthquake. And you can see, this is seismic waves, propagating seismic waves. And the red dots represent the localities for which we have a large number of visitors. And if you look at where the first one hit our websites, they are the one closer to the epicenter. So fundamentally, people act as real-time seismic sensor. So you know before you get seismic information where the earthquake was felt and when it was felt. But of course, not everybody goes on EMSC. If you are on, especially in California, a lot of people will turn to Twitter and they will say, "Oh my God, earthquake." So if you just count the number of tweets containing the keyword earthquake, you have exactly the same type of things. If you're lucky enough, you will find a number of peaks which are geolocated, and you can even have an idea about the impact of the earthquake just by looking at what's going on. The big disadvantage of these methods is that Twitter is not that popular in many countries, and the geographical information is very poor. There are only a few % of the tweets which are geolocated. But still, we use these two methods, to identify the earthquakes which were felt and for which the people were looking for information. And we developed this LastQuake smartphone app, and we just published this one, the ones which are felt, which are a few thousand a year, compared to the 50,000 we locate a year from the seismic networks. We also asked the people to share geolocated pics, comments, and we have also replaced the traditional online questionnaires by a set of cartoons which depict different shaking and damage level. The app is pretty successful. We have currently 350,000 users, except in China, because in China there is no access to the stores, so it's difficult to be identified. And as soon as we launched it, we have realized that the app itself becomes a way to detect felt earthquakes. So here, this is very similar. This is a felt earthquake here. This is time, here in seconds. And this is the number of people launching the app. So within 10 seconds, the people launch the app to find information, and you have a great geographical information. So this is now the most powerful methods that we are using. So we use these three methods, and as soon as one detects online reaction of eyewitnesses, we just published on the different component of our system. So LastQuake is a multi-channel information system. We just published, so possibly felt earthquakes in this area, please. So on Twitter, we just ask the people to visit our website. So we link the different components. On the website, we ask the people to provide their felt reports through the set of cartoons, and we ask them to also download the app. So basically, all these components are linked. And it's very important to link to the app, because today, 95% of the new apps which are put on stores are not used, are not downloaded. And here is just to illustrate how efficient it is. It was in Italy. There had been 4 earthquakes, magnitude 5 and above, in 4 hours. And you see, by driving the people to the stores, we had 1,500 additional users of the app. Still, to insist on it's not only an app, but it's a very multi-component system. Last year, there was an earthquake in Swansea in Wales. Nobody knows about EMSC in Wales because there is not so many earthquakes. So we detected a traffic surge on our website. And if you look here, that's the number of felt reports we collected on the website for mobile devices and on our website for desktops. So we collected 3,000 of them, so the colors represent the level of shaking in half an hour, and basically none through the app because simply nobody has the app. So websites remain very important. If you look at a very different area, Bali, we are well identified in Bali. It is magnitude 5 in Bali. Here are the number of felt reports we collect through the app only. 1,000 in 10 minutes, using the app only. So each component is important. And what is quite amazing is that it works quite everywhere. So last August, we had an earthquake 1,000 kilometers south of Ushuaia, and we collected 3 felt reports from the scientific base of Chile, which have 80 inhabitants. So really, you can collect a lot of information from all type of areas. Just to show you how fast it is, this was an earthquake, so last January in Athens. So this is the epicenter, and it will turn red when we get the seismic information. So here, that's the location of the people launching the app. So we detected the earthquake 24 seconds after it happened. So we know it was felt in Athens. 60 seconds after, we still don't have any information from seismometers, but we know exactly where the earthquake was felt. If we turn to the felt reports, so they are less numerous, but they contain information of the shaking levels through their colors here. So you see in 1 minute we had 3, 100 in 2 minutes. We still don't have any information about the earthquake. Finally, we get the information about the earthquake, but we had already the complete picture of its effects. So it's extremely fast and complements what you can get from seismic data. So how can we use it to push its use? This is a schematic view of what we have called the donut effects. So we have shown that the behavior of the people depend on the local level of shaking. So when the level of shaking is not frightening, like in the case of the Athens earthquake, people launch the app, people send the felt reports instantaneously. When the shaking level starts to be frightening, so basically when small objects start falling, people first go to security and you have a 10 to 20 minutes delay. And in the damage area, you do not crowdsource any information because people have other priorities. So basically you have this type of shape. And we apply it now systematically, so this is a bit difficult to understand. But this is the Lombok in Indonesia, an earthquake with 500 casualties. This is the time from the earthquake. This is the epicentral distance. The black dots represent the app launches. The colored ones, the felt reports we collected. And if you look, we had a donut of 30 kilometers around the epicenter. We have several hundreds of thousands of inhabitants in this area. Not a single people provided information. And there were 500 casualties. There was a second shock a few weeks later. You don't see this, and there was only 10 casualties. So there is a lot of information that you can find. What is very great with smartphones is that it is a technology we can provide the right information at the right time, at the right person. After the Nepal earthquake, we asked our users, what do you want as an improvement? And they didn't ask us for more seismological stuff. They asked us, tell us what we should do after an earthquake. And the timeliness for me, I think, is absolutely critical. This was a tweet published by a flight attendant during an incident, and he was complaining that everybody put the mask the wrong way, covering only the mouth rather than the mouth and the nose. Everybody get the information a couple of minutes or few tenths of minutes before. Everybody has forgotten, so timeliness is key. So what we have done, we have developed these safety tips. So basically, as soon as we know the magnitude of the earthquake and the location, our users who have been through violent shaking will have a specific notification to tell them what they should do and should avoid immediately after the shaking. They're also invited to contact their loved ones to say whether they are safe or not. During the Lombok earthquake, so there were a number of earthquakes during the summer, we have spent a lot of time answering the questions on Twitter. And I just want to highlight a few tweets that provide basically the feedback of the people. The Indonesian authorities made a great job in terms of information. They made everything in Indonesian. All the Lombok earthquake were felt in Bali when you have tens of thousands of tourists. So there was no authoritative real-time information in English. This is something which is true nearly everywhere now, if you have tourists, if you have immigration, etc., etc. Second one, that's what sociologists have been telling us for decades, is that people need information because information reduces anxiety. So this is exactly what the people tell us, provide us information to reduce anxiety. Another one is we do not need only to inform the people on site, but the diaspora is also looking for information. This is also a target that we should think about when we deliver information. And finally, I find it is very interesting. If you look, there are very few people answering the questions of the eyewitnesses after an earthquake online. The emergency services generally do not have the expertise to do so, and seismologists are not very keen to do so because they're not very keen to do so. I will not go too much in details in here, but I think we are leaving a lot of space, and you have all type of charlatans filling this void, and especially about earthquake prediction systematically after strong earthquakes. So I think we should do better now. Last example, in Mayotte, so it is a French island in the Mozambique Channel between so Mozambique and Madagascar. Since last May, there are a lot of felt earthquakes, but the area is poorly instrumented in terms of seismic stations. So the problem we had, so there was a general problem of communication which led to many rumors, fake news, conspiracy theories, and we were also affected by this, by something that we had not anticipated. As I have shown you, when we detect there is a felt earthquakes, we publish, so possibly felt earthquakes, please confirm. So we're collecting felt reports, but after 15 minutes, because we're unable to confirm it seismically, it was disappearing from our app, because we had always thought that we will be able to confirm the eyewitnesses by seismic data in 15 minutes. And the people thought that we were hiding earthquakes. So we have made a new release where today, even if we don't have the magnitude and the location of the earthquake, people can still access the information they have provided. So we are really trying to improve every time what we can offer to the people. So very short, to conclude, basically, yes, social media can contribute to risk reduction. It can be very powerful in terms of raising situational awareness, to limit inappropriate behavior. Visual communication, that's not something I have stressed, but we are working at global scale. There is no way you can do this with multilingual. It's far too complicated. And visual communication, both for crowdsourcing or for providing safety tips, is an efficient way to overcome language barrier. I will just stress finally on the three main aspects. We engage the people, like the case of the earthquake in Wales, by providing very rapid information. People are turning to the internet within tens of seconds of an event. If you're the first one, you will get a lot of virus spread very efficiently. The second one is that if you want to do anything, you have first to understand how the people use the tools. They are not going to change the way they behave because of you, so you have to understand first how they behave. And finally, an app on its own is not the silver bullet. Depending on the situation, you really need to have also websites, you really need to have different components of the systems. Thank you.
Remy, thank you so much. Some really good methods of collecting and using data with a real kind of humanitarian impact to it as well, which is really nice to see. Open up the floor. Any questions from anyone? I'm intrigued to know, actually. Is there any scope for using sensors in people's devices to detect seismological activity? There's an app that now people have on their phones, and perhaps
yes.
is there scope to automate that process?
There are two such apps. There is one which has been developed in Stanford and one which has been developed in Bergamo University. And we are just starting a new EC project, so European project, where we'll collaborate with the, so basically the whole idea is that you turn your smartphone in a seismometer. So basically it records, because it has a seismometer inside, it is used when you rotate your phone, and you can detect when it is still some movement. So we are working together with Bergamo to make better use and combining this data. The whole idea is always to combine different type of data to get more and more reliable and precise information.
Wonderful. Any other questions from the room at all before we move along? No, excellent. Thank you very much, Remy. That's great. Finally then, we have Joao Nunes from the Marketing and Communication Office at the National Institute for Medical Emergencies in Portugal. So welcome.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everybody, once. I came from INEM. INEM is the National Institute. It's a public service institute that handle all the emergency service, medical emergency service on our country. Well, but the question is today, why social media on emergency services? In Portugal, we have part of our strategy is to be on these 4 channels: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And the first lesson we take was that if you don't have the resources to be on a certain channel, then not to be in the certain channel, because you create expectations among your public that will not be exactly as you can produce. So we are creating 3 big areas. We are working on 3 big areas: prevention, alerts, and first aid itself, medical emergency itself. So we are on we are genuine care about people, and this is the main reason why we are on social media. People are on social media, so we are on people stay. In fact, if you want to get an ambassador for your service on social media, you can look for the most expensive YouTuber, and it will not get such much genuine messenger as one of your professionals. I came from the streets for the last 15 years. I work as an EMT. So the thing is, when we think how to be in social media as an emergency service, you just sense to look for not as a product. Imagine, for instance, you as a brand, you have a brand. Okay, so every brand has a commercial into it. Every brand wants to sell anything, and people know about that. So people know when they are seeing a post from any brand, they know they want to sell me anything. Well, emergency services are not like that. People know when they are seeing posts from an emergency service, they just care about us. They are not trying to sell you anything, okay? And that's a very important issue. For instance, I'll give you an example. Imagine, I think it's worldwide, everyone that's take duty on ambulance or fire service have posts an image of his ambulance, right? Just my ambulance, okay? My car service, my fire service, okay? Sometimes it's just get the picture from the ambulance completely dirty and saying, okay, I just saved a life today. It's worth the day. It's worth because I once saved a life, right? But you don't get that kind of answer when you call from another professions. For instance, imagine a mailman. You see mailman? Mailman didn't post his bag, just my bag, your mail. It didn't happen. Emergency services do it because emergency services have an awareness behind the service, and the mission is so close that is in fact our main product, our main strategy to be on social media. So we stay as close friends. This image, it comes from a team of nurses and EMT services that are digging in planting some trees after the burns of fire, of the fires, forest fires that we have in 2017 that killed 100 people. And you know what? So you now just have to think about marketing to be on social media, but not trying to sell anything, just promoting and focus on awareness. How can I stay people more closer to me in order to get my message get through the best way? Now, get the right place, the right message at the right time. If you get the right time and the right message, don't worry about the placement because it will happen. It will get viral, you know. That's one of the strategies to be on social media. So you can get YouTubers. We want to get YouTubers also. But with the YouTuber channel, we also want our professionals. So the one who's talking is our professional. It's always our professional. Okay, get your professionals in the net. Forget about getting someone from outside. Well, if you want to talk to teenagers, where it's 85% of the teenagers today is on the YouTube channels, you just have to get the same strategy. You have to be on the same channel. You have to be the same message. Now, this is one of the campaigns that we have last year. It was a huge campaign, and when someone just told me, this is a mood, it came from Portugal, because teenagers just eating capsules. I don't know if it happens in your countries, but teenagers just getting capsules in the plate and just trying to, well, come on, what's coming to your mind? It's that's stupid, right? Well, indeed, it comes viral. It comes on radio, on television, on all social media channels. It works, okay? And then we get another one. We got this one, and we said, it's ridiculous to hold someone's tongue during convulsion. I don't know if it happens in your country, but sometimes when some soccer player just trying to hold the tongue of another player, just have a convulsion, and then it comes on media, how like a hero, you just save someone's life because it's just handling the tongue of his colleague. It's ridiculous. But some people trying to tell us that when you post this, you don't use ridiculous on social media. It's too strong. Maybe you can use you must not. Well, the thing is, we have tried to do that several times. This was posts about convulsions. The last 10 posts before that one gets this high. Nothing else than this. And then we do this one, and we get more shares than we get likes. Share is much more good for social media than a like, you know. So it works. So do not post anything about just for posting, just for getting someone on the net because you just hear or read somewhere that you must have to one or two posts a day to get active on social media. It isn't a strategy. It's just getting something to the net, and that's not right, okay? So get a proposal, and every time that you get someone on the web, just monitorize the way you can understand if it was effective or not effective. You have to get a strategy for each one of the things that you get online. Otherwise, it's just getting things on net. About timing. This one, it's easy to understand when it comes, and it comes very earlier. It was published in one of the days that Brazil are playing, and I think it was in the day that they lost. So it wasn't. It was a perfect time. We didn't know that Brazil will lose, you know. But it reached 2.3 million people. Okay, with just image. We know that, in fact, these numbers came from our police department in Portugal that handles the 112 service. It's a high level. I know that this is not in Portugal. It's I don't know if it's so high in other countries, but in fact there is a problem that every emergency services has with the services is the not emergency calls. It works. 2.3 million people, it's good. It comes viral, okay? So it was one of the most seen posts that we have indeed in our social media, 2.3 million. Okay, so you got about the message, about the timing, and we got the placement, whatever. It's been easy to get the placement when you got the right message and the right timing. So never underestimate the power of social media. I'll end with a simple example. In last Christmas, we have a very sad episode. We lost 4 professionals in a helicopter accident. The 4 died. The helicopter just crashed. And we just have to handle it. We cannot not post anything. When you just getting posting for prevent, for alert, for first aid, when something like this happens, you just have also to be on social media. Because when you have some close friends, the friends are for good and for bad times. So you just have to be on social media as sharing with your best friends. So indeed, we just put this one. When it happens, we just keep hours thinking, okay, what should we do? We got the photos, we got the names, okay, what should we do? And then we just post this and trying to get a message for all our professionals that in that days were not able to their emergencies. And it works. You know why? In the next days, we got thousands of messages. And I confess, we're not hoping that, but it came with the only spot when people trying to say anything for us, for professionals, and for the family. Well, we didn't do this just to post something. We really want to get a tribute for our professionals, and we think we got it. A few days later, the family just came to one of our psychologists and told her, you know, we don't get back our nurse, it seems Daniela, we don't get back Daniela, but we now know that it's worth, okay? It was a good tribute, thank you, okay? So being in the good time, in the bad time, in the factory, it's all about people. So when it comes to internet, don't forget, so social media instead, don't forget that as a medical emergency services, you must focus on awareness, okay? Focus on how do you want to people react and acting. In fact, you just have to be emotive because people know you are genuine when you talk. We could just post things that we always get the first on spot. That's a strategy, okay? That's some channels use. And as Remy just told, just people every time just want to know the things that we cannot show, okay? So be emotive the way people want to be genuine. You just have to be emotive and genuine when posting something on social media. Thank you.
Thank you. Some really useful tips there for anyone looking to venture into social media, and some that I wish I'd have had when I started out my journey on Twitter, I think. Any questions from the floor? One in the middle again. Why not? We'll just get a microphone to you quickly.
Hi,
Hi.
Ira Gomez from VOST Europe. Question in 2 parts, in fact. In this era of fake news, how does this affect you? And the second part is, are you using or collaborating volunteer organizations, like, for instance, VOST Portugal, in these activities?
I didn't understand the second question, but I'll answer the first question first, okay? You know, in Portugal, we have people liking a lot of INEM. So when it comes with fake news, they always check us and trying to understand, is this fake or not? So the awareness is so high that when you said, okay, this is not true, this is fake. So when any people just take our response and just publish, okay, INEM said it is fake, then it's fake. So I think it's very strong strategy for unblocking this kind of mood. And the second one?
So the second question is related with a volunteer organization, the Virtual Operation Support Teams. It is a new organization in Portugal, born in August last year, that's very active in social media, fighting fake news, supporting emergency services, making information going viral, key information going viral. Have you been in contact with them or collaborating with them in some...
I confess I don't know it. How do you call?
VOST Port.
Oh yes,
PT.
VOST. Yeah, sure. No, I didn't understand. Which yes, I think it will be one of the. You got a path, you got a channel. It's good. So we didn't explore yet how we wish to, but we'll do it.
Thank you. Any more questions from the room at all before we wrap things up? No, wonderful. Just very quickly again before we move along then. Firstly, a huge thank you again to 3 presenters, to Aditya, to Remy, and to Joao. Thank you very much for your presentations today. They were fantastic. Just a quick reminder for anyone that wasn't in the room at the start, there are a lot of road closures in Dubrovnik which are being put on today. If you need to arrange transfers to the airport between now and Friday, you need to allow plenty of time for those. We want to make sure you get home safely. And finally, that just leads me to say thank you very much. Coming up in here at 3:05, we have a masterclass on the impact of GDPR on public safety organisations, so anyone who handles data, that's going to be useful for you. And next door in track 1, we've got initiatives to support emergency services in case of disasters. So enjoy the rest of the conference, and I'm sure I'll see plenty of you around. Thank you.
We all need hope, we all need salvation.